Nate Diaz, Jake Paul fighting coming up. What do we think is going to happen? I believe we are going to have a great fight in our hands. We have the Jake Paul, which is obviously the bigger fighter. We have Nate Diaz, which we all know has a lot experience in boxing and MMA. When I say boxing, is because we have to understand Nate Diaz has fought many years, and boxing has been a few of the things that he has always mentioned that he has fought and he has sparred with other boxers. So he has a lot of experience boxing, just like his brother Nick Diaz. They come from a great camp. What do I expect that's going to happen? What do I expect Jake Paul to be his goal? I believe Jake Paul is coming thinking, I'm the bigger guy. I am going to punch him and I'm probably going to knock him out. The problem with that is, guys, that we have Nate Diaz that doesn't get knocked out. We have Nate Diaz that just takes damage pretty much until either there's a cut from all his scar tissue and referee steps in, or, you know, at the end of the day, like we've seen him before, I think we've seen him once get head kicked and the fight be stopped. So we really can't call out Nate Diaz and say we're going to knock him out or Jake Paul is going to knock him out, because we don't know that. I do believe that Nate Diaz may have an issue with his scar tissue if he's hit hard. We do have bigger gloves, not the small UFC gloves that we're used to seeing Nate fight in and getting punched with. So he has all those cuts. I believe Nate Diaz is going to come in with volume, and we are going to see a lot of body shots. Nate Diaz I'm a huge fan of Nate Diaz, and everybody should be if you are a contact sport fanatic, because when it comes to the Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz and their team, they're just badass. I remember the day I solidified myself as a Nate Diaz fan, and that day was when he put that guy in a triangle and he was flicking the opponent. He was flicking the crowd like, yeah, I won. He was flexing as he had him on the triangle. I'll never forget that. One of my favorite moments in MMA. So I do believe the experience of Nate, having had fought so many times in sparring with such high-level boxers, will be an issue for Jake. I do believe Jake has the power advantage here. I do also believe that we will have Nate Diaz working body shots, and this will be an issue for Jake Paul. I believe Jake Paul is a great role model for any father, mother, single parent, kid growing up, or anything for that matter. We have to understand that Jake Paul has set goals throughout his life, and he has achieved them. So we cannot knock on Jake Paul. He has set goals from young. And I'm not saying he has done the greatest when he was growing up. I know he was a young kid and he was in the internet and his whole life is put out there. But we have to understand that he has grown to be a great role model for anyone who doesn't believe in themselves or is going through a hard problem, because you can see him set goals and reach them with persistency. Now, what do I believe is going to happen? I believe he's going to come in with his power, but I believe Nate Diaz will come in thicker. We have seen him before come in I've seen him out of fighting and he's completely swole. Now, they are going to be fighting in the 185-pound division. We have only seen Nate fight in the 170 and 155-pound division. And we know Jake Paul comes from north of 200 pounds. So I believe Nate Diaz, with the right strategy, obviously he has all the money in the world. He has his nutritionists. He has all his body performers. He can work on all his body and recuperation of his body. He's going to be working, I imagine, with some top level boxers. So we can expect dynamite from both of these guys. Now, Nate Diaz might have some problem with the scar tissue. I don't see him getting knocked out. And I do believe that if Nate works his body punches against Jake Paul and manages not to get hit by those punches, we will have a great fight in our hands. At the end of the day, we have Nate with a lot of experience. He's going to come in with his team. He's going to come in with Nick Diaz. You know, Nick Diaz is older, but his mind will help Nate go and prepare for this fight. So, guys, if you guys are MMA fans or if you guys are boxing fans, you guys have to watch this fight. You know, I'm not going to pirate. I'm going to be doing commenting. I'm going to be commentating on this fight live. So if you guys like the channel, come see us that day. We'll be paying for the pay-per-view, and I will be commentating, giving you guys my insight. And like I said, when you pay for a show, it's different than when you pirate a show, say, free on YouTube. You don't get the pre-shows. You don't get the interviews. You don't get the walkouts. You don't get to see their facial expressions and all of that stuff that I think is great to see in an event. So support Jake Paul. Support Nate Diaz. They're fighting for us. This is an entertainment fight, and I can't wait to see it to come to fruition. I believe that Jake Paul is obviously thinking he's the bigger guy. He just fought Fury. He fought a real boxer. He probably thought for a second, wait a minute, let me do what I do and focus on high-profile fights. And I think Nate Diaz is a great opposition opponent for him. We do have Jorge Masvidal that I saw today do a confrontation at Jake Paul's new spot, new Fantasy Factory's place. So I tell you what, I can't wait for that. If Jorge, I believe Jake Paul is looking past Nate Diaz, and I believe that's because of the size. I would like to see Jorge Masvidal fight Jake Paul. I do not want to see Nate lose. I do want to see a competitive fight. But I'm going to tell you right now, seeing that Jorge Masvidal clip with Jake Paul and Jorge Masvidal walking with his hands behind his back, I got to tell you, that really, out of all the walkthroughs that we've seen or any confrontations that I've seen Jake Paul had, I believe the one that interests me the most is this Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal. So come check us out. I appreciate everybody. Come check our commentating this weekend. I'm going to be also commentating on the UFC fight coming up. Jake Paul, keep up the work. Good work. Nate, obviously a huge fan of yours as well. Keep up the good work. I'll see you guys, and I'll be commentating for you guys. If you guys are down for some interviews, I'm ready to interview you guys anytime, anywhere. I'll come to you. We can do live. We can talk about MMA, boxing, live. It doesn't matter. Jake Paul, obviously, great role model. Keep up the good work. Nate Diaz, keep up entertaining us. I hope to see you fight with a trilogy against Conor McGregor. And let's get some shows going. Let's entertain us. Give us a lot of pre-fights. Give us a lot of interviews, Nate and Jake. And fans, let's go watch them. They're the bomb. I can't wait for this fight. Let's rock.